OFWs ask, what currency should I save in? We live in a wonderful time where Filipinos are not just earning in peso, but in different currencies around the world. There are families where the wife is earning Canadian dollars while the husband is earning yen. Then they spend yen for their day-to-day expenses because they live in Japan, while still sending money to the Philippines for their parents. We now live in a very interconnected economy, and this has made many OFWs and Filipinos already residing outside the Philippines to ask, what currency should I save in? And in this episode, you'll learn of 2 practical guidelines to follow in answering this question. With that said, let's begin. The first guideline is, save in the currency you'll most likely spend in. The first step to following this principle is to ask yourself, what's the future purpose of this savings? Is it for my emergency fund? Is it for retirement? Is it for the kids' tuition? You have to define it first to get an answer on what currency you'll spend. Here's an example. Let's say you're earning Saudi riyals, you're living there but your family is in the Philippines, so they are spending in peso. What currency should you save in? Well, if you're saving for the emergency fund for your family in the Philippines, then you save that amount in peso. But if you're saving for your personal emergency fund in Saudi, then you keep the money as Saudi riyals. And if it's for the kids' tuition, well, where do you plan on sending them to school later? If the answer is in Saudi, then keep the money in riyals. But if it's in the Philippines, then keep it in peso. Now, if you're not sure what currency you'll spend it in, but the money is there, say for example, retirement, you're not yet decided whether you want to live in the Philippines or if you want to stay and become a permanent resident where you're currently working. Well, what's the currency you'll most likely spend in? Sure, you may not be 100% decided yet, but if you had to decide now, what would you pick? Whatever that is, then save in that currency. Again, the principle is save in the currency you'll most likely spend in. Now, here comes a common question. But what about the exchange rates? Here's how we suggest you think about it. First is that the exchange rates are something that no one single government has control over because we live in a global economy. For instance, something that happens in Thailand can also affect the US dollar to the Philippine conversion rate. All currencies are interconnected. No one can predict 100% on whether the exchange rates will go up or down. So there is always a currency risk. And for that, the second guideline is to negate currency by diversifying through time. I know that was a lot, but here's what that means. Every month, you send a fixed amount regardless of the exchange rate. And whatever savings or additional expense you incur, you set it aside as a buffer for currency risk. So, for example, you send 30,000 pesos a month to the Philippines and you're earning in dollars. And let's say the exchange rate is 48 pesos to $1. So you'll need $625. But the following month, month 2, the exchange rate rose to 51 pesos is to $1, meaning you'll only need $589. So, hey, you saved $36. Now, this $36, don't use it for shopping. Instead, set it aside so that when currency rates change again, you have a buffer. Now, let's say the following month, month 3, it suddenly dropped to 46 pesos to $1, which means you'll need $652, which is 27 more on top of your budget. Where do you get it from? From last month's savings. When you do this over a period of several months to years, you'll be able to reduce your currency risks by diversifying through time, whether the rates are up or down. Now, these 2 guidelines you learned. Number 1, save in the currency you'll spend. And number 2, to diversify currency risk through time, they have an exception. Saving in the currency you'll spend and diversifying through time are only recommended for the regular, average OFWs who send and save money every month as part of their monthly routines. But if you're dealing with bigger amounts that range in the hundreds of thousands of pesos to millions, then you have to start looking at currency as an investment already. Meaning, you've got to think like an investor, and these 2 guidelines aren't enough. We have to follow the more important rule of investing, which is to follow your knowledge. For example, if you're living in the US but you're more knowledgeable with investing in the Philippine stock market, then you should keep investing in the Philippines, even if you plan on retiring in the US. Follow your knowledge because the biggest risk in investing is investing in things you have no clue about. But of course, a smarter move would be to study the US market, even if it's new to you, because that way you don't have to deal with exchange rates anymore, reducing your currency risk. Or an equally good move would be to study on how to analyze foreign exchange and currency movements so that you can make informed decisions on when to switch currencies. Now, we won't talk anymore about forex and currency movements because this is such a huge topic. But if you're learning more about it, we'll make sure to give you a reference at the end of the video. Now, let's do a quick recap. So, OFWs, what currency should you save in? Guideline number 1 is to save in the currency you'll most likely spend, and if you're worried about the exchange rate, we have guideline number 2, negate the currency risk by diversifying through time. While these guidelines are practical and easy to follow, it is best applied only when dealing with smaller amounts of money. If you have bigger investment decisions involving millions of pesos and beyond, these guidelines aren't enough. And expanding your knowledge of the other markets, foreign exchange, and currency movements, they become a requirement so that you can invest intelligently. And that's it for our episode on what currency should I save in. I hope this episode helped you think better when dealing with currencies. Hey, are you a fan of Pinoy Money Academy? Have you watched more than 5 of our posts here? And you're getting so much value here and you think that our training is top-notch? Well, you might be wondering, why are we teaching all of this for free even if there's so much value in the training? Well, here's the answer. It's because what you're learning here for free is actually just 5%. Just 5% of the value compared to when you enroll into our premium programs like Winning the Game of Wealth. This means that your financial progress can be accelerated, made faster when you have a step-by-step and structured program to follow, bringing you closer to financial security, financial freedom, and financial abundance. So if you're not yet an owner of the Winning the Game of Wealth program, please check out PinoyMoneyAcademy.com/winthegame because it's, the values we have here, they're great, they're shareable, they have value bombs, but at the end of the day, it's not a structured program that will radically transform your life towards financial freedom and abundance. So, if you're not yet an owner of the Winning the Game of Wealth program, then please go to PinoyMoneyAcademy.com/winthegame and see how it can help you have a better financial life. Hope to see you there.